Listen! Listen to the word of the Lord. What do I have planned for September?
And we have a Fox News alert. We just got our hands on the Comey indictment, former FBI director, indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia. He's charged with 2 counts, false statements within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch, that's testimony before Congress, and obstruction of a congressional proceeding.
And I will deliver, and I will bring friendship for a season, and many of the enemies that now stand shall be non-existent, says the Spirit of God. It shall take 2 years, 2 years, but watch how I bless Israel.
And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it. To demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas.
What is happening right now is I'm taken beyond the veil. I'm hearing so many different sounds that I've never heard before. Alzheimer's will be a sickness of the past. Autism, this is not temporary cures.
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
We have some breaking news to bring you. Huntington's disease has been successfully treated for the first time, according to the results of a trial that has just been released. This disease is one of the worst genetic disorders. It's often described as a mixture of dementia, Parkinson's, and motor neuron disease.
There will no longer be some of the diseases and the brain problems and sudden breakthroughs. Forgive me, please.
Welcome to Analysis. Today, America is at a crossroads. James Comey, who was once untouchable, is now facing indictment. And President Trump, in the middle of all of this, is negotiating a peace deal for Israel. And then we hear about autism research, as you just saw in that clip, and what is happening with cures and healing for some of the worst diseases that we face today. So we're going to have a look at all of these headlines through the lens of prophecy today. And so I welcome you. Thank you for joining us. And we have Christie Desfontaine, as usual.
Hi.
To help me analyze these prophecies. So welcome, Christie.
Thank you. I'm excited about this.
There's a lot happening.
Yep.
All at once. Yes, it is. And so we have some prophecy, of course, to look at.
Yes.
We saw a little bit there in the beginning, but from August 30th of 2014, my dad saw some interesting things.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think we should maybe have a look at that prophecy,
yes,
and then we'll come back and talk about it. How about? Okay, so let's do that. Go ahead and play the prophecy, and then we'll come back and discuss it.
Listen! Listen to the word of the Lord. What do I have planned for September? What about Israel? What I'm about to tell you, says the Spirit, is not only for the land of Israel and the people of Israel, but this is for you, says the Lord. The tide is turning for Israel. The tide is turning for you. What speak I of, says the Lord? A strange things shall happen in September. Moving into the fall, where there shall be a great fall. Fall of the enemies, fall of kings, fall of princes. But God says, for a season, I will reveal a strange thing. Some of those who have been enemies of Israel shall suddenly turn and change their tune for a season. And I will restore, and I will deliver, and I will bring friendship for a season. And many of the enemies that now stand shall be non-existent, says the Spirit of God. It shall take 2 years. 2 years. But watch how I bless Israel. Watch how the rain comes to America. Watch how the rain comes to my kingdom. Watch and see. For God says, beginning in September, I will turn everything around, and my people shall see an intervention of a kind that they have never seen before, says the Lord.
Come on.
You know what? The 2 years thing is what gets me, because we're about, what are we, a week away from the 2-year anniversary of October 7th. And what we've seen since is not what you would have expected. What happened on October 7th was unimaginable.
Yes.
What they did to them.
Unimaginable.
What those terrorists did to innocent children.
Yes.
Innocent people and innocent children.
Yes.
It's not like that they were fighting IDF soldiers.
No.
They went in and massacred and rejoiced and celebrated the most extraordinary violence that I think it's worse than what the Nazis did.
Yeah.
As far as individual acts of violence.
Yes.
And I remember when right after it happened, we were playing some of the footage, with censored, obviously, and the guy calling his parents and celebrating on the phone.
Yes. Throwing
and,
out
most of these people that go out and protest Israel and stick up for really they're sticking up for Hamas,
yes,
which is a terrorist organization funded by Iran.
Yes.
That is, you would expect, this is the point, you would expect the reaction, especially from the West, to be to stand with Israel, and instead, and a lot of this must be ignorance. It must be ignorance. Instead, Israel has been vilified, and that Fourth Reich that Dad prophesied, because we didn't play it today, but Fourth Reich prophecies, many of you already know them. In 2010, he prophesied the rise of a Fourth Reich from Europe.
Yes.
And if you think about that, in those 2 years, we've seen such a rise in anti-Semitism, and it isn't just on the left,
it's on the
right as well. So on both sides, it's on the right so badly.
So badly.
And you now have a divide in the right of the people who support Israel and can see clearly what's going on,
yes,
and the people who don't and want to blame the Jews for everything. And those people are not pro-Palestinian people. Those people are maybe sympathetic, but they have a conspiracy theory of, the Jews are to blame for everything.
That's
everything that goes wrong in the world. Everybody can do whatever they want and without blame, because it always goes back to, my back hurts, the Jews' fault.
Yes, it's one of the most
I don't have any money, it's the Jews'
It's
fault.
one of the most ancient conspiracy theories that's been around since the days of Haman in the book of Esther, and we've seen it work, unfortunately, incredibly efficiently. The Nazi Party is the ultimate example of that, because they managed to get an entire nation on board with it, which then spread to the fact that right now in 2025, the Jewish population is still not what it was in 1939, before the World War II started. And that is insane, when you actually realize that's a genocide. That is a genocide.
That is a genocide, yes.
When you look at the fact that the Palestinian population has quadrupled since Israel came into the land in 1948, in fulfillment of Isaiah 66:8, can a nation be born in a day, yet no sooner is Zion in labor than she brings forth her sons. Since the Israelis took, I don't want to say occupation, from when the Israelis came home in fulfillment of what the prophet Zechariah saw, and in fulfillment of what the prophet Isaiah saw, and what was foretold in the scriptures in the Old Testament. From when that happened, the population of the Palestinians has quadrupled since 1948. Whereas when you look at the Jewish population from 1939 up until 2025, the population is still lower today. The global Jewish population is still lower today than it was pre-World War II. That is a genocide.
Yes, exactly. And so here we see in this prophecy from 2014, yes. August 30th. So this is now 11 years ago, and like a month. So we're pretty close to, as they were about to enter September, and he was seeing the month of September. And he saw the 2 years, and then he sees it turning around for Israel. And so that's where we get to, and for America, actually, the tide is turning for Israel, yes. And for you, is actually what he said. But he was speaking to, addressing, I think, the West, but mostly America. And the enemies of Israel turning. And, you know, earlier this year, we saw President Trump go to the Middle East and meet with numerous Middle Eastern leaders and broker deals that would bring peace to the Middle East. And it seems that they are cooperating. I mean, we know that they are anti-Semitic. You know, if you think of Qatar or you think of Saudi Arabia, they are, you know, they're not like the greatest fans of the Jewish people, but they can see, especially financially and economically, and for peace in the region, it is for the best for everyone. And you'll notice that you were just saying that to me before we started today, none of those countries will take in Palestinian refugees. And they do seem to be, when watching the announcements over the deal, you know, we saw Bibi Netanyahu come and speak with President Trump, and, you know, Trump got up and did the press conference with him, with Bibi Netanyahu, and they, you know, sort of laid out, this is what we're going to offer. And it's a really good deal for the Palestinian people. But unfortunately, Christie, we've seen this before in the mid-2000s. Oh. Between, what year was it that
earlier, with Clinton and Yasser Arafat. I mean, we're talking about in the 90s this was happening.
Right. But in the mid-2000s, they did give up territory, and yes. The Jewish people left, and they were given a chance where they could have taken, I mean, what is it, 20 years now?
Longer,
they've had where they could have...
It's been insane.
They could have built something, and instead of building something for the benefit of the Palestinian people in the region, they made tunnels underground,
yes.
And the whole objective for them is, no, we have to kill all of the Jews. Now, if you look at who's funding Hamas, Iran funds Hamas.
Iran funds Hamas.
And Iran, in their constitution, has it, the goal in their constitution
death to America,
is
to Israel.
Not a drop of Jewish blood
yes.
left on the, and not a drop of Jewish blood left on the earth. So yes. That is so obviously their goal.
Yes.
That I struggle to understand why other people don't understand this.
Same.
Because none of us wish for any people to be harmed.
Yeah.
Not Palestinian people, you know, civilians over there. We don't want anybody harmed.
No.
That's not what the goal is, and that's not what Israel wants.
No.
They just have to protect themselves, because if they don't, then the goal there of Hamas, which funded by Iran, we know what's in Iran's constitution of their goal, is from the river to the sea. And then you have young people and foolish people that are in this country chanting from the river to the sea.
Not knowing what it means.
Don't even know what they're saying.
No.
They don't understand the Jews need to be driven from the Jordan River into the Mediterranean Sea, yes. So there's no more Jews. That is, it's so obviously demonic to me.
Yes, it's demonic.
And I am comforted, though, by what I'm seeing, the efforts being made. Mm. Now, Trump is saying, if Hamas does not take the deal that they're offering, then he's giving Israel the green light to go ahead and do what they have to do.
Yes.
I'm not sure what exactly that would entail.
That's going to unfold in the next couple of days, Donné, you know, but the truth of the matter is your dad prophesied about it taking 2 years, and almost 2 years to the day we're seeing a peace deal put on the table that could change everything, you know. And we see this parallel to America because the prophecy also said that the season of fall would begin in September. And as soon as the fall season began in September, we see this indictment of James Comey announced. And, you know, he's been indicted for false statements and obstruction. The DOJ and FBI have declared that no one is above the law. Some are calling it political retribution, but we're seeing prophecy fulfilled, really, of the fall of those who thought themselves untouchable. And that's what your dad saw. And it was all tied in. It's interesting that it's tied in with this fall and the fall. The prophecy tie-in is this great fall, a fall of the enemies, a fall of kings, a fall of princes. He also said, it shall take 2 years, but watch how I bless Israel. Now, we know on the sidelines at the same time, there's a bunch of countries that are wanting to opt into the Abraham Accords. There's a bunch of countries that are wanting to jump on board as soon as this issue with and when I say issue, I mean it's Hamas being, you know, Hamas. We're waiting for this thing to kind of settle down and ready and end. The fact that we're even having to negotiate with people about releasing hostages is obscene in the first place. But we're seeing what's put on the table here, and I don't know, I just look at that and go, okay, well, we're in fall right now. Your dad's, you know, he would often refer to people who were kings and princes as people who were big personalities or big leaders. It wasn't necessarily a monarch. It was somebody who had the role, a big role in an area. At least that's my perception of what it is that he would talk about, kings, princes, rulers. It was like James Comey, in a way, was a king in that area, and now we're seeing what's happened there. Which doesn't feel coincidental to me. It does definitely, I know we were talking about this, it definitely feels like prophetic timing.
Yes. Oh, well, absolutely it does. And, you know, gosh, they've been playing where he testified when being questioned by, I forget which senator, but he was being questioned, and that's the clip they keep playing. And I remember watching that at the time, knowing he was lying.
Yes.
And so this is, there's Ted Cruz, it was Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Was questioning James Comey. And this is years ago now.
Yeah.
And this is the clip they're playing because they now know he was lying.
Yes.
So, and I'll never forget when he got up and said, no, we're choosing not to charge Hillary Clinton with anything. And she had classified information. Think of what they did to President Trump.
Versus?
Over classified information, raiding, who was the president.
Yes.
He was the president, so in charge of classifying and could declassify whatever he wanted. It was so obvious. And you know what's crazy is that we were interviewing, my mother and I were interviewing Eric Trump while Mar-a-Lago was being raided.
Yes, I remember that.
So how prophetic is that?
That's
of
insane.
all the times we could have interviewed Eric Trump, the one time we interviewed him, while he was doing the interview with us, they were raiding Mar-a-Lago and planting evidence and taking pictures. Oh, we found classified information. Well, he was the president.
Yes.
And so, you know, really it was lawfare against him. So everybody is now saying, oh, well, this is just Trump getting revenge. And I want to say to those people, revenge for what? Revenge for what? Is there something that he might need to get revenge for? And I'm not okay with revenge. But you hear what I'm saying, is that it's almost like they're admitting they've done something wrong and now Trump's going to get them back. Because they did. I mean, they were changing laws in New York so they could try to make up things to charge him with, to try so desperately to stop him from being president. And so then you have to ask yourself, well, why did they need to stop him that badly? What are they afraid of that they had to stop him that badly? And then you see the globalist agenda. And it really is globalist versus nationalist. Like, you know, things are becoming much more obvious and much clearer as we go through the journey. And the thing I love about prophecy is that it gives you that broader perspective of the situation. You're not seeing it from a left or a right or whichever team. You're seeing it from God's perspective. And so that's very important too,
Yes.
when you're looking at, because God is not confined to time, like we're confined to the season we're alive in right now. God is not. He understands all the things that have happened over all the millennia to lead us to this moment, and he knows what's going to happen afterwards because he knows the end from the beginning, not being confined to time the way we are. And so that's also really important when we look at prophecy, to understand that it is actually from the perspective of our Creator that we're seeing a broader picture. And it helps, I know it helps me to sort of dismantle the tribal kind of thing. It's very easy for all of us. Like, I'm on the side of the conservatives at this stage. And so because I'm on the conservative side, I will be defensive of that just naturally. Some people get really into the team thing. I'm not so much. I want to see, what are you doing right and wrong? I'm just not just going to blindly follow things. And that's part of the problem with what we're dealing with right now. But that perspective is really important. And, the timing of it all happening right now. We see the 2-year anniversary. Dad saw 2 years and things turning for Israel. We're seeing that happen because no matter what happens here with the Palestinians and Israel, there's going to be some kind of a resolution at some point. I think that's pretty obvious. And either Hamas agrees to the deal. If they don't agree with the deal, then Israel needs to finish this. Because, and this is what people in the West need to understand, Israel is the little Satan. We, in the United States of America and the West, especially America, we're the great Satan. So once they've taken care of, if they were to take care of the Jewish problem and drive all the Jews into the Mediterranean, as they chant every day, then who's next on their agenda? Well, we are. And so it is in our best interest as well. And look at what they're doing. They're infiltrating from within. And we're seeing that begin to manifest, and we see voices becoming bolder and bolder. And just look at Michigan. If you just look at Dearborn, where Dad prophesied 9/11 from in 1996, and the overcoming of the beast of the East. These things, when it comes to prophecy, and it really shows me, because it wasn't my dad giving his opinion, it wasn't my dad saying what he would like to happen. He was prophesying things that he didn't live to even, not only not see, but he didn't live to a point where he could have formed an opinion the way that we do on some of these things. So you know that that's coming from God, from our Creator outside of time. And that's so interesting to me. And amidst all of that, we have, what he saw. Well, we've got another prophecy on this here. Oh, the healing. Okay, so amidst all of that, we see, and this is something that's also happening right now, so that's why it's so interesting. We see my dad seeing healings and cures for very particular diseases. I mean, he named a lot of them, in particular autism and neurological disorders and Alzheimer's and things that affect the mind. And so that's also really interesting. And we actually have a prophecy to play from August. Again, it's August, which I find is interesting, but this is from 2011, August 23rd. And this was when they were still in the Simi Valley studio. So let's play that, and then we'll come back.
But I want to explain that to you, because the earth, God has got something in the earth for us today. Healing, cures, but not just temporary. I really feel by the Spirit that He's been saying this, He's been saying this. Cancer will be a disease of the past. Yeah. Alzheimer's will be a sickness of the past. Autism. This is not temporary cures. When God says it's a disease of the past, it's history. Yeah. It means that something is in the earth to destroy it.
It's wild, Donné.
And how powerful is that? Because we just saw Trump get up with RFK Jr. and say, listen, we're looking at what could be the causes, because the statistics specifically on autism,
Out of control.
are outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yes.
It's undeniable. You cannot look at that and say, oh, well, that's just genetic.
No.
Or, oh, we know more about autism now. So those arguments no longer work. Because when you're looking at 1 in 10,000 versus 1 in 10, or whatever the numbers were.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
During a very short time period. And, that to me is you can't ignore it. And so there they made an announcement. Now, unfortunately, some very foolish women who hate Trump, obviously more than they care about their own selves and their own children, pregnant women were downing bottles of Tylenol. I heard about one of them was in the ICU to show Trump. And, something that I thought about was, I don't know if these people think that it was Trump and RFK Jr. in the lab doing the little tests or what they're thinking, but these were studies done from Harvard and other reputable places. It's not a partisan thing. And they found that Tylenol during pregnancy or giving Tylenol after a vaccine, they're over-vaccinating too. There's just too many vaccinations given to a child all at once on one day. And that doesn't make you anti-vax to say, how about we spread this out a little bit before we just dump all these vaccines into a little baby. But because it's so politicized, people are completely blinded. And again, it's like people are completely blinded that they hate Israel so much that they don't care about what happens to their own selves or what might happen if they don't see clearly what the danger is. And the same is occurring with diseases, that you see, we hate Trump so much that I will take the risk of harming my own child because I don't like that he said something about Tylenol. So I'm going to down the Tylenol, I'm going to show Trump. It's so extraordinary to me. I think that maybe we see a lot more of this kind of thing, and these kind of things happen more because we now have social media where everybody has a platform. Everybody can speak and be heard. It's not like when we grew up that whoever you saw on TV, it was a big deal if you got to be seen on screen or on television or featured in something. Now, anybody with a device can do it. And so I think that might have a lot to do with it as well. But you can't ignore a very demonic element to this. It's definitely because the self-destruction at the expense, self-destruction because you're going to prove or you hate something or someone so much. You're being driven then by hate, and that is blinding so many people. And so that's something we keep praying against. But they are saying, the FDA and HHS say that, I don't know how to pronounce it, leucovorin.
Yeah, also I'm not entirely certain.
Is the first recognized treatment for autism-related...
It's
autism-related speech deficits. Now, my son...
Yes.
Yeah. My son is autistic, and his main issue was speech.
Yes.
He didn't really have too much of he's very loving, and he'll look you in the eye, so it took us a while before we realized. My dad never lived to know,
yes.
Even though he knew my son, obviously, it was his first grandson. He only lived till my son was 2 years old, so we hadn't found out yet. And so, it's very touching to me also that God showed him that, because through my own father, I see a promise of a cure for something that his grandson, my son, has. And in particular, I want to give this to my little boy. I'm watching it for a minute, everything just came out. So, I'm not a person who rushes into anything. And he's not severe. He does speak now. But that was the indicator to us that something wasn't right, because he didn't speak until he was 6 or 7 years old. Now, since going to school and getting therapies, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all kinds of therapies, he has done extremely well. And so I think that for someone like my son, this medication could be a complete game changer because he's not really severe. But what my dad saw was cure for that. And in particular, And this is a prophecy that gets a lot of traction online and in social media, is the 2027 prophecy. And it was highly unusual for my dad to actually name a year. He would often, when he would prophesy, there would be indications in the prophecy of when by other things he was prophesying, like maybe I see a volcano or an earthquake, and then this, or like what we just saw with him prophesying about Israel and falls in the fall and 2 years. So those things can, when culminated, indicate, okay, this is the time that he was prophesying. So it was very unusual for him to actually name a year, but in this prophecy, he did see the year 2027. And so now that we've gone through time and the whole Trump presidency and then the Biden presidency and then Trump's second term, now those things make more sense, especially in particular that year. As we stand now in 2025 and Trump makes this announcement, what will be happening in 2027? And so I would like to actually have a look at that in a moment, but I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to share about that before we do.
Yeah, Donné, just really quickly with your dad, speaking about these diseases of the past and specifically mentioning brain diseases and brain problems. He mentioned varying neurological issues, and we saw at the beginning of this broadcast, for the first time ever, they treated Huntington's disease successfully. And he specifically spoke about, Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is very often linked to dementia. What we see in Huntington's is it's kind of this horrible combination of dementia. It's like dementia and motor neuron disease. So they say it's like having Parkinson's with Alzheimer's. So it's a horrific disease. When I was growing up, one of my mom's friends had 2 daughters with Huntington's, and they both ended up dying at about the age of 27, and it was horrific. They couldn't talk, they couldn't function, they had to be taken care of like babies 24/7. But your dad foresaw this years ago about seeing breakthroughs in brain-related areas, and right now in 2025, right now in September, actually, and he was talking about September, we see that Huntington's was treated successfully for the first time, and he spoke about these being diseases of the past, which means we're watching prophecy move from the spirit world into science, into the realm of science, which is absolutely incredible, because 10 years ago, most people would have said this isn't possible, or however many years ago it was, but we're seeing that happen now. And so I just want to encourage everybody who's watching, when God reveals healing and justice, he invites us to stand with his prophetic movement. And warriors, it's your giving that makes this possible. Sow today into what God is doing through this ministry. And I'm going to direct you, there's a red link below your player that you can use. You can text your gift, you can call it in. But what you're doing is you're standing with us. You're standing with the house of the prophet, the house of destiny, the house of the prophet, where all of these words of wisdom and knowledge and prophecy and foresight came to be, where we're living in the present today that Kim Clement saw was the future and the past. That's what we're living in. And there's a beautiful scripture, and I'm going to read it again. It's the same one that I read last week, 2 Corinthians 9:7. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. So this is an opportunity. I don't want you to feel like it's a burden or something you have to do. It's something God is looking for from us as a heart response. And I know a lot of you, because of the prayer meetings we do on Tuesday, I know a lot of you are dealing with family members or friends where autism is a very real part of your lives, where disease is a very real part of your lives. All of us know somebody who's suffering with this. And so I'm encouraging you to sow into this moment that Kim saw, where we're starting to see the unfolding of that prophecy move from a spirit world into a science realm. And that is really powerful. And I genuinely cannot think of anybody else in modern times who's prophesied anything even vaguely akin to this. And what we're doing is we're standing on the legacy that Kim started and the words that God gave him. And we're trusting God together for your life, for your family, as you sow into this destiny, as you sow into this future, not just for the United States of America, not just for Israel, but for yourself personally. We're trusting God that we're going to see breakthroughs of an incredible magnitude. And so I'm encouraging you, as we go into this prophecy now, a lot of you have asked about 2027 and about this kind of thing. I'm encouraging you now, as that happens, allow your heart to be open as you hear Kim's words. Click the red link, give while you listen. So let's go to that prophecy now.
Lord, what is happening right now is I'm taken beyond the veil. I'm hearing so many different sounds that I've never heard before. This, again, the elderly and the children, an amalgamation of the two voices. It's the strangest sound, an old voice and a young voice, and it's together. It's like there is no age in the sound. I'm in the spirit, and very seldom this happens to me, but at least I have my composure, and this is important. For that few seconds or whatever it was, I don't even know how long it was, I sensed, I heard, I couldn't see, sounds that I've never heard before. It was not wicked, it was beautiful. The hearts of the fathers back to the sons, the spirit of Elijah that is coming upon the earth. Oh, like we have never seen before. Why do you think he wants to kill our children? A sound like we have never heard before. Like I have never heard. I hope I live to see it. But there is something beyond this veil, a way that we can never imagine. I pray, Lord, that each warrior would receive just a glimpse of this future. That you will reign upon land, upon land, upon land, upon schools, colleges, prisons. And let that church emerge that we know about, that is in existence. In existence. Now, Lord, I'm back in the year 2013. This is 2027. Where will I be? The children that you've given to us to look after, and the many thousands and tens of thousands that we will reach. I saw Emma. There will no longer be some of the diseases and the brain problems and sudden breakthroughs. Forgive me, please. Somebody else must take over. When you're caught up in the spirit, it's difficult to maintain your composure. We caught glimpses of stuff. That president that we spoke about, that young boy, 2027.
I struggle to watch that one too often. It's very intense because he's asking, where will I be?
Yes.
I hope I live to see it. Where will I be? He was so emotional by what he was seeing. And for people who don't understand, when he says Emma,
oh man,
he's speaking about if you've seen Hannah, who sang with my dad with the blonde hair, her daughter has a genetic disorder, and he saw her healed.
Yes, and it's a very severe one.
And her disorder is debilitating.
Yes.
Yeah, it's severe. She also has to be cared for.
Yes.
In every way, cannot do anything independently.
Yes.
And, that was someone very close to us and in our ministry and our family. And so, when he was just now, when I was listening to him say that, I saw Emma in my mind. And for him to break down, my dad was not emotional like that. No. He didn't easily cry.
No.
He would,
but it wasn't.
It was very unusual for him to get emotional. He was quite taken with that, and you can see that he saw her.
Yes. You could see him.
His reaction. I saw Emma.
Took his breath as well.
And his reaction.
Yeah, his breath was taken away. It was like he'd seen something that you could see in that moment when it happened, where he gasped like that, like he'd seen something. It's like you're seeing something that you actually can't believe you're seeing when you're shocked. He wasn't like that.
Yes.
That was a genuine moment where I know he saw something.
Yes. Right. And he did struggle to articulate it in the moment. And I don't think it was just emotion. I think that he was struggling to articulate everything he was seeing and hearing. You notice he said he heard a sound he'd never heard before.
Yes.
And from the fathers to the sons.
Old and young, voices together.
It was like nothing he'd ever heard before. Yes. And he's hearing this and he's saying, I hope I live to see it. And so there's always been the question of, was he realizing he wasn't going to be there? Because he then goes on to say, and where will I be? And the children, he's speaking to God now, and the children you've given me to take care of, which is, he's referring to my 5 adopted brothers and sisters that they were still in the process of adopting at that time in 2013.
Yep.
I think they'd only had Shellyanne and Mia at that point, maybe Kimby, and went on to adopt 2 more children, Shushu and Matt.
Yes.
And so he was saying, where will I be? And that emotion, I think, as well, might have been intertwined in that he might have been sensing he wasn't there.
Yes.
And so that's a difficult one for me to watch. I know it must be for you as well.
It's, Donné, it's so tough.
But, yeah. But what we've seen today...
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The hope here, the hope of what we've seen.
And it's lining up with what's happening with Israel and the Middle East. And also healing and cures for these diseases. And then justice with the falls, many who would fall in the fall. It's not the first time he's prophesied that. Of course, it's in the season prophecy as well. Yes. The season's prophecy we covered quite a bit last year. But he was seeing these falls and fall. And so it's very important to note these kind of things. But we're out of time right now.
We're out of time.
And except we're out of time, sort of. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to our prophecy vault. And so for those of you who are partners with us in our vault, in our prophecy vault, our vault partners, we're going to have a little bit more in-depth and more personal of a conversation about these things. And so I invite you to join us there. And if you're not a partner, it's really easy to join. And I encourage you to join so that you can be a part of the extended conversation that Christie and I are going to have about this, because I do have some personal things to share that I would rather do in a more private setting. So if you're a Prophecy Vault partner, you just hop over there. You're going to see in there Christie and I continuing to discuss and analyze this. And if you are not a partner, it's very easy to join. You'll be able to see it on your screen right now, how to do it. And I encourage you to do it. It's only $7 or more a month. And so it's really easy to join. And there's so much in there as well. We have an updated prophecy database. We, of course, have kept the original prophecy database, which has a search engine. You can do keyword searches on all of the prophecies for over a 40-year time. of my dad prophesying. Everything we have transcribed that he prophesied, you can do keyword searches on it. But in the vault, we've upgraded the prophecy vault. We have the School of the Prophets, and we have so much in there. And some of these more personal conversations that we maybe don't want to have on like YouTube, you can join us for that over there. So go over there, become a vault partner if you aren't already, because it's worth it. It's way more worth it than Netflix. I don't know if you've seen, Christie, that people are now canceling their Netflix subscriptions again because they're misbehaving over there. So if you can pay for a Netflix subscription, you can certainly partner with us. It's very easy. It's not expensive. And we would really like you to, we'd like to invite you to join us for that, because sometimes there's things that we can't say on YouTube. I mean, those of you who follow us and watch our broadcast, you already know we've dealt with a considerable amount of censorship just this year.
But we don't get banned in the vault.
Ridiculous things. And so
we don't get banned in the vault.
That is our platform. And so if you ever cannot find us, if let's say you watch us on YouTube or you watch us somewhere else, if you cannot find us there, you can always go to houseofdestiny.org, and all of our broadcasts are there. And we also have an app, and you can download the app and you can watch it there. And so I encourage you to do that as well, because at any point in time, they could decide to just, get rid of the Kim Clement YouTube channel, and it's very stressful. So we are going to end here for the day. For those of you who are partners or want to become one, join us over there. And Christie, would you like to pray us out today? That would be lovely if you could.
Let's do it. Father, we come to you right now and we're asking you for justice to be seen in America, that you would continue to expose every bit of corruption and darkness, and that you would shine your light on this nation. We're asking you for peace in Israel. We're asking you that we would see a miracle take place in that nation, that hostages would be returned and that peace would actually come. We're trusting you for healing for the children that Kim saw. We're asking that these cures would come quickly. We're asking that every single one of your warriors, you would give them strength and peace to remain steadfast in every season, no matter how difficult. And we're calling to you to raise up every valley and dip low every mountain, and that you would make the crooked path straight for your people. We're trusting now that every person watching is going to have personal miracles and encounters with you, and that we're going to hear testimonies of what it is that you've done in their lives. And we thank you for this, for your goodness, for your mercy, for your grace, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Christie. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Don't miss anything at the House of Destiny Network. We have something every single day of the week. And there is so much happening right now, so much prophecy being fulfilled. You don't want to miss anything. So make sure that if you're following on social media, you hit that notification bell, share these broadcasts, because these prophecies are so important for people to at least hear it, to just at least have a chance to hear it. And it's because of your support that we're able to do all of this. And so I encourage you, again, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Don't miss a thing, because we have something for you every day of the week. And we do love all of you so dearly, and we are so grateful for you. And so we will be back here next week for more analysis. Who knows what will happen this week? Maybe we do a little bit, because we have all of these incredible prophecies from my beloved father, whose birthday it was yesterday. And so I'll just, before we go today, just want to acknowledge that my dad would have been 69 years old, and his birthday was yesterday, the last day of September, which is quite prophetic in itself as we stand in this moment. And so thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next week. Hello, friends. I'm Donné Clement Petruska, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside. We have Andrew Sorcini from Beverly Hills Precious Metals with us today. If someone has a 401k, can they take some of that and purchase gold as an investment for their future?
They can, and it's a great way to do it, because if you have an IRA, a government TSP account, a 401k from a company that you used to work at but don't work at anymore, or if you still work at the company and you're over 59 and a half, these can be rolled over into a precious metals IRA. And if you were to speak to your financial advisor about it, they'll tell you, oh, this is a taxable event. They'll tell you things like gold and silver are volatile. But really, the thing is, they don't want you to get into precious metals because it doesn't benefit them monetarily. I'm here to tell you that your accounts can be rolled into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. You would own real gold and silver that is stored in a third-party depository that's insured in a lockbox with your name on it.
So if someone goes to bh-pm.com, is that the correct website? Okay, and that's going to be on the bottom of the screen. If they go there today, what do they need to do?
Okay, so there's an online form there, and the form, almost every page on the website has the online form. So you just fill in your first name, last name, email address, telephone number, say that Kim Clement sent you, or the House of Destiny. We'll know what you mean. And in the notes section, be as detailed as you can. Sometimes people put things in there like, I'm a complete novice. I really don't understand precious metals. I've been wanting to understand. I want to invest, but really I need more information first. Then put that in there. If you're someone that's been investing in gold and silver for years and really don't need a consultation, you just want to check prices, then put that in there.
Everybody watching, if you are interested in precious metals, this is where you want to go. Thanks again.
Thank you.